I drove to work, I thought again about the conversation my wife had initiated last night during dinner. This wasn't the first time it had come up, but the frequency of these conversations seemed to be increasing, and I wasn't exactly sure why this discussion kept coming up and why it was important to my wife. She wanted me to tell her again how many women I had slept with before she and I became exclusive. She wanted to know if I fantasized about the past women or thought about them when we were making love. Obviously, the only answer you could give to that question was a resounding hell no. My wife and I had been married for 5 years, and although it might not have been a perfect marriage, I would have rated our marriage very high in terms of trust, respect, love, sex, friendship. In short, all the things that I deemed as being important in a relationship. I thought my wife felt the same way, and I truly felt we were living the dream. Decent income from enjoyable jobs, good marriage, nice house, and a good location, and enough money and leisure time to go on vacations and go out and enjoy good wine, food, and entertainment. My name is William Harrison, but my friends call me Billy, and my wife's name is Molly. I'm a 5'11" blonde-haired, blue-eyed male of Nordic descent, although I have enough Irish in me to fuel my occasional explosive anger. But that has been under control since my high school days, having been taught through multiple fights that it's better to use words than fists. I was in pretty decent shape, having grown up playing soccer and hockey year-round and having spent a lot of time in my basement lifting weights. I still jogged, played in an adult soccer league, and played some pond hockey. My wife Molly had always had a natural sex appeal, with sparkling eyes and perfect skin and lips that would draw you in when she smiled or talked. She had an easy way of making people feel comfortable, and she could get people to talk to her about virtually anything while she showed friends and coworkers how important they were to her by being a good listener and not judging them on the things they would tell her. This sometimes would border on flirting or being too open and comfortable with people, but it hadn't ever been an issue for me, and she had a way of stopping conversations before questionable behavior lines were crossed. Molly did attract plenty of attention because in addition to her sex appeal and bubbly personality, she had a body that both men and women envied. She was 5 feet 7 inches tall with blonde hair, blue eyes, and an amazing figure. But maybe the crowning achievement were her legs and her perfectly shaped firm hips. She spent 4 to 5 nights a week at the gym to keep her firm and toned, and it was her main release and enjoyment outside of work. I often told her that I had all I could do to not grope her every time she walked by me, and she had no problem with that. When I really thought about it, Molly seemed to have the perfect personality, at least perfect for me. She had one sometimes annoying fault, and it sometimes generated emotional discussions between her and me, but rarely got to the level of a fight. The problem could be that once Molly made up her mind about something, she wouldn't let go of her decision. She believed she was right, especially in situations that were not scientific or lacked black and white data. This made her especially stubborn on some issues, and I typically couldn't change her mind once it was made up. We had both married right out of college and had exclusively dated the last 2 years of college, so fair to say that Molly hadn't experienced a myriad of different sex partners before we got married. On the other hand, it had gone pretty wild my senior year and summer of high school and the first 2 years of college, betting as many women as possible. I guess I felt lucky that as a 19-year-old, one of the first of my sexual partners was an older divorced woman who loved sex and had a lot of practice enjoying it. She taught me many things about pleasing a woman and about what really works in getting a woman to orgasm. Thanks to her, I felt very comfortable in making sure I was pleasing the woman first, only taking my relief when I felt I had made the experience special for them. I had explained this to Molly when she asked me how I knew how to please her and give her such pleasure, and she was thankful for what the long list of women had taught me, but jealous that she had missed out on different partners and sexual experiences. In our professional life, I was a mechanical engineer at Abbott Labs, helping design and test the various injection molded components that were used in medical devices such as ventilators, pumps, and respirators. I liked the job as it was challenging and not really stressful, and it afforded me enough money and leisure time to pursue other hobbies. My latest hobby was gutting and restoring a 2005 Winnebago B-Class RV that Molly and I could take on week-long trips up the north shore of Lake Superior in Minnesota or to the mountains, the ocean. Really, there was no limit of great choices. Molly was a CPA and had a good job with one of the top 5 national accounting and consulting firms. This too was good pay, not overly stressful, and had some travel involved in occasionally accompanying a junior CPA on a company audit to assure they were covering all the bases correctly and that they were trained in the company's corporate way of providing customers with good service and insightful reporting. Molly had been on a few trips in the last month with a new young employee named Andrew, who had just graduated from school and had now begun his 3-year stint to qualify and test for the CPA designation. Molly had once talked about how hot, confident, and outgoing he was after their first trip, but she hadn't said much about him since then. Our life continued with me spending more and more time on the RV, and as I was getting closer to completion, my excitement to hit the road with Molly increased. I did notice that Molly wasn't that outwardly excited about the whole thing, and it somewhat concerned me, but I figured after 1 or 2 shorter road trips she would love it. I also noticed that Molly wasn't quite as bubbly, outgoing, and open in her communication and relationship with me. The sex was still great, hadn't diminished, and a few times in the last few weeks when Molly came home late from work, she had practically ripped my clothes off and dragged me into bed. The last time this happened, I noticed her panties were wet when we got undressed, and I could tell something was really making her incredibly horny. After one of these intense lovemaking sessions that had occurred right after work, I went down to start making us dinner and Molly jumped into the shower. I decided that things were off in a few ways the last few weeks, and I was going to ask Molly about it when she came down to eat. Molly sat under the hot water in the shower and felt great about the lovemaking that she and Billy had just had, but a cringe of guilt and apprehension also came to her. She had been going to lunches and the occasional happy hour with her coworker Andrew, and most recently she allowed him to talk her into going to dinner and dancing. She knew this was pushing boundaries farther than she should be allowing, and she knew that their conversations were getting more and more flirtatious and crossing the line of what a married woman should permit. Hell, even here she was kidding herself. She was obsessed with this secret liaison and the idea of sex with a different man. She knew she was very physically attracted to him, and she knew she had made a decision in her mind last week to have sex with him. I deserve this, and it's going to help me get this obsession out of my mind and get me back on track in my marriage. Billy has had a ton of sexual partners, granted all before they had decided to be exclusive, and she knew he would never cheat on her, and she would never cheat on him, but she had made up her mind to have one weekend of sex with Andrew, and she had been trying to decide how to discuss it with Billy. She loved him so much and never wanted to hurt him, so she would never do anything behind his back. But she reasoned this is only sex, only one time, and if Billy loves me as much as I know he does, he'll allow this and we will get past it and be stronger than before. She only hoped she wasn't kidding herself, but her mind was made up. When Molly came down to the kitchen, I had made some shrimp salads, some cornbread, and had poured a couple glasses of wine. When she sat down, I said, "Molly, we need to talk about something, and I'm not sure how to start. Billy, just go ahead and say what's on your mind. I love you. You love me, and we can tell each other anything. I also need to talk to you, but why don't you start?" Oh, Molly, that sounds a bit ominous. How many marriages began their ending with a "we need to talk" opener? Don't be silly, Billy. This isn't anything bad. This is something that will be good for me, and I'll make it really good for you too. Well, I'm not sure how to say this or what I am trying to ask, but Molly, something is off with us. You haven't been as open and loving in the last several weeks as we normally are. Man, Billy, did you forget about the incredible lovemaking we just had? Molly, I'm not talking about that, but since you bring it up, what made you so incredible horny that you almost tore my clothes off? Molly instantly got a bit terse, but also a look of concern and guilt crossed her face. Well, Billy, if you don't like me being that horny for you, then maybe it's your problem and not mine. I instantly noticed the defensive attitude and called her on it. Molly, I see your look of concern and guilt, and your defensive attitude is obvious. Can't you see it? Can't you please tell me what is really going on? Do I have something to be concerned about with you? Molly looked down and knew that she had let this conversation get off on the wrong foot, and she needed to grab control of it if she were going to be able to have a constructive discussion and a positive result in what she was going to ask Billy. Billy, I'm sorry, that isn't what I meant to say, and I do need to tell you what's going on. I need you to know and remember that I love you and our life more than anything else. What we have is precious, and I am so in love with you. So please remember that as we talk. Molly, now you've really got me worried. Are you having an affair? Are you cheating on me? Billy, how dare you say that? You know, I would never cheat on you. I respect you too much. But I do want to talk with you about something, and I need you to listen to me and hear what I'm saying. When I'm done, you can ask me any questions and we can discuss it. Okay, honey, again, I'm going to remind you that I love only you and I want only you. I want to have kids with you, grow old with you, and always be your partner. What I'm going to tell you might be hard, but please listen to it all. Do you remember me talking about Andrew, my coworker that I took a few trips with? Well, I have also been eating lunch with him, and we have also gone to happy hour and even to dinner last week. What the hell, Molly? You said you weren't cheating on me or having an affair, and now you are admitting to one. I am not, damn it. It isn't an affair, and I have never cheated on you. But you promised to listen. Yes, maybe I have crossed the line by spending time with him and not telling you about it. I certainly don't love him, but we have been flirting, and the things we have been saying and sharing have been full of sexual innuendo. It seemed a bit risque, but still innocent. Only that changed when he told me that he wanted to make love to me. He is 7 years younger than me, extremely fit and handsome, and I have found myself totally infatuated with him. I jumped up in a rage. God damn it, Molly. Are you leaving me? Do you love him? Are you sure you haven't already screwed him? And this is a bullshit way to tell me. Molly cringed at what she had said and how none of this was coming out the way she meant it to. Billy, no. I haven't screwed him or anyone else. That's actually part of the problem, but please listen. I love only you. Andrew is just a kid. I could never fall in love with him. But you know that I have had only a few sexual experiences before meeting you, and I feel like I have been deprived of some of the experiences you got to sample before we were a couple. I kind of feel like I was cheated out of sowing some wild oats before you and I fell in love. And now knowing that this young man that I am incredibly attracted to wants to screw me, I just can't seem to get it out of my mind. Today at work, Andrew and I were flirting back and forth, and that is partially the reason that I was so incredibly horny when I got home and needed you to love me. I felt my pulse speed up and my skin flushed as I got an incredibly sad and shocked look on my face. This was not what Molly wanted to see. She quickly tried to erase the last statement she made by saying, Billy, I didn't say that right. I love you, and making love to you is so much more than sex. It is the most fulfilling thing I have ever felt. But I can't get this young man out of my system, and I have decided to have sex with him and take this one-time opportunity to get my last sexual experience with another man before you and I decide to get more serious about kids, careers, etc. I feel like I deserve this, and I am asking you to let me have this. I have told you I would never cheat on you, and I respect you, and that is all true, and that is why I am asking for you to let me have this. But I guess I am also telling you I have made up my mind to do this. Molly was stunned to see me slump in my chair and to see the tears fill up my eyes and start to slide down my cheek. This wasn't how this was supposed to go. It was only going to be sex, just one time. It wouldn't mean anything. She had to convince him. Billy, I love only you. I only want to be married to you and grow old with you. This is only sex. It isn't love. It's only a one-time hall pass to have a sexual experience and get it out of my mind, and I swear that I will make this up to you for the rest of our lives if you just let me have this. I will never cheat on you, and that's why I am begging for you to allow me this one-time gift and proof of your love for me. I jumped up from the table, and the hurt and anger in my eyes alarmed Molly. I hope she wondered if she had already done something to hurt our marriage and relationship. How could she possibly equate my approval as being proof of my love? What utter bullshit. Proof of my love for you bullshit. Molly, here is what I am hearing. You have already cheated on me. You are having an emotional relationship with someone from work. You have already talked intimately with this person, shared details about us and our marriage. You've gone to lunches, dinners, happy hours. It's already cheating if you ask me. Are you sure you haven't screwed him already? And this is how you are trying to tell me you were having an affair. Besides, how will you make it up to me? Have more sex with me? Spend time with me? Shower me with gifts? Are you not supposed to do that right now? Billy, stop. It isn't an affair. And no, I haven't screwed him, but I will admit that I kissed him a few times after happy hours. Maybe it was the alcohol, but I have to admit the thrill of someone different turned me on. This is going to be a one-time sex experience, not an affair. I'll never love him, and I'll always love only you, but I feel like I need this. And if you loved me as much as I thought you did, you would give me this. Billy, it's only sex. It's not love. It doesn't mean anything, but I can't get it out of my mind, and I feel I need this. I don't know right now what I will do, but I will make it up to you. Molly, I can't believe you can even ask me this. You have already disrespected me by having the emotional and sexually oriented relationship you started with this guy. You have already cheated on me by telling me you've talked about sex and the things you want to do with each other. You told me that you kissed him, and to me that is as intimate as if you had screwed him. I guess I also can't believe how naive I have been. I thought you loved me as much as I loved you, but I would never hurt you like you just hurt me. I don't even know if you understand how much you have already hurt our relationship and marriage. I thought I could always count on you and trust you, and now you have thrown that feeling out the window. Billy, stop. Quit being so dramatic. I do love you and only you. You can trust me, and that is why I'm telling you this. You shouldn't be hurt. This is just about me, not about you. It's just meaningless sex. Okay, Molly, then maybe I'll go find myself some meaningless sex too, and you can see if you still believe that shit. With that, Billy stood up, grabbed his keys, and walked to the door. Billy got him it. Grow up and come back here. This isn't a bad thing. This is going to make me better after this and allow me to give you more love and attention in our future than I ever have. Screwing a man who is not your husband will make you better. Holy shit, Molly, you are really delusional right now. I don't know how you can believe what you are trying to sell. I don't know how you can say you love me and then treat me like I am just supposed to suck up your infidelity and get over it. Well, guess what? I will never get over it. If you go ahead with this, we are over. Do you understand that? With that, I started to cry and ran to the door, out to my car, and was backing out of the driveway before Molly got to the door and called to me. Billy, no. Please come back and let me show you how much I love you. We can get past this, Billy, and it will be good for me, and I'll make it so good for you. All I could do was just look at her with extreme sadness and pain through my teary eyes as I drove off into the night. It will be good for me, what the hell? This is unbelievable. God, what do I do now? Molly sat stunned, depressed, and now worried. God, how did I screw that up so bad? Why doesn't he understand how much I need this and that it won't do anything negative to our love and relationship? But deep down, she knew that it already had. They had never had a fight like that. Billy had never walked out on her, had never questioned her love for him, and now she questioned his love for her. She didn't want to admit that she had already done damage, maybe major damage, to her marriage. But she had also already agreed that this Saturday Andrew would pick her up, take her to brunch, and then they would check into the Hilton and have sex all afternoon. They would then go out to dinner and dancing and come back and have more sex, likely Saturday night and hopefully Sunday. She planned on having as much sex with him as she could before she came back Sunday night and dedicated herself to her marriage and to Billy. Certainly he will get over this. I know he is hurt right now, and I really didn't explain this very well. But it was so wrong of him to accuse her of already having an affair and being so angry at what she felt she deserved and needed. Her mind was made up, and she was convinced that Billy would get over this and they would move forward together to even a better relationship in the future. After 2 hours and no word from Billy, she started to get really concerned. He was not in a good mental state when he left. She thought for sure he would call her and they could make up and he would come home and they could make love and she could show him her love for him. But with no call and no text, she tried calling him. He didn't pick up, so she left him a voicemail saying, Billy, I am sorry that you took this so dramatically and that this hurt you. Please don't be hurt. I love only you and want to be with you forever. This isn't about you and me. This is just me getting something that I never got in my past and working this out of my system. Please understand and come back to me. She got ready for bed, checked her phone again, and had no response from Billy. She laid down on their bed and drifted into a fitful sleep. I cried as I drove over to the Hilton in the next suburb and checked in for the night. Then I ended up spending way too much time in the hotel bar, getting hammered and falling into bed later that night. I ignored the calls and voicemail from Molly, still shocked and in disbelief that she thought this was okay and that she could profess her love for me, but still insist on having sex outside of their wedding vows. I knew how incredibly stubborn she could be when she made up her mind, but this wasn't one of those times when I could acquiesce and let it go. This was a marriage-ending mistake, and I had to convince her of that before it was too late. But was it already too late? Even if I convinced her to say no this time, how long would it be before she went ahead and did it without telling me, going behind my back? That would for sure be the end of any trust, respect, and our marriage. But by the same token, I knew that if I let her do this, I would never feel about her the same way again. And if I said yes, how long would it be before she met another guy that she just had to get out of her system? And would she at some point resent me for letting another man take her and not standing up and demanding that she belonged to only me? There were no good options, and I started to feel that this was already the beginning of the end. I finally decided that my only hope and option was to talk her out of this and get her to go to counseling with me and see if we could get to the bottom of what was driving this need for her to have sex with another man. Wednesday morning, Molly woke up, moved over to cuddle with Billy, and gasped as she realized he hadn't slept in their bed. She figured maybe he was in the guest bedroom or on the couch, but after looking all around the house and seeing that his car was still gone, she figured he never came home. That had her extremely upset. She went to her phone and saw there was no text or voicemail. She called him and he didn't answer, but after she hung up, she got a text back. "Molly, I'll be home at 7 p.m. tonight. Please go ahead and eat before I get there. We have to talk more about this and have a serious discussion about our future together." Molly looked and first thought, God, Billy quit being so damn dramatic. She was pissed, but she then started to worry about the message. Billy was telling her that maybe they didn't have a future together, which was the very last thing she ever wanted. She loved him and wanted to be with him. Why couldn't he understand that? She would have to make him understand tonight. Molly went to work, and as soon as she sat at her desk, Andrew approached her and said, "Good morning, sexy. You look good enough to kiss and cuddle, and I hope to be doing just that this Saturday. Are we still on? Did you tell your husband? Should I be worried? Andrew let me worry about Billy. He would never hurt a fly. He isn't sold on the idea, but he'll be okay, and yes, we are still on for Saturday, and I get very excited thinking about it." When he left her desk, that being said, Molly texted Billy again. "Billy, are you okay? Please know that I only love you. I only want you, and my future with you is going to be better and better." After 1 hour, I texted with a sarcastic short 2-word response. Yes, sure. She was getting mad at how immature Billy was being about this whole thing. But she was also sad at how much this was hurting him. She had convinced herself that she would more than make this up to him, and he would be so happy with the love-making and attention she would give him that in no time at all things would be at least as good as they have been, if not better. Wednesday, I called in sick from work. And after I knew Molly had left, I went back to her house, got my tools, and finished up some of the details on the RV. I got the solar panel mounted and functioning, finished all the electrical and Wi-Fi connections, got a new cassette for the toilet, filled up the tanks with water, and basically knew that I could finish the cabinetry on Thursday and it would be road ready. The work kept my mind off the constant pain and sorrow I was living with. With 2 hours left until Molly returned, I did some research on the internet about divorce, finances, counselors, and felt that I had a preliminary set of plans for either contingency that I needed to take. I then went around the house, made a list of everything that was mine that I cared about, and then had just enough time to head to the bank. At the bank, I canceled our joint credit card and opened one in my name only. I canceled our joint checking account and then split the balance with a check cut to her for 50% and my percent going into my savings account. I then went to a pub that I liked and had a craft beer and a burger and got ready for our discussion at home. Molly came home about 6 p.m. and saw that Billy was still not home, and she couldn't tell if he had been home or not. She got herself a sandwich and tried to decide how to have a more positive discussion with Billy this time around. When Billy came in, she ran up to him and gave him a huge kiss on the lips and hugged him for a long time and admonished him for leaving. "Billy, damn it. Don't ever leave like that and not let me know you are okay. I know you are hurting, but I was so worried about you and needed to know you were okay. Billy, I love you. Only you. I'll always love only you. You don't have to be hurting, Billy, cause you and I are solid and together and always will be. So you knew that I was hurting really and you love only me. I wish that were true, Molly, but I am no longer very sure of that. A week ago, I would never believe you could ask me for what you are now wanting me to approve. Have an affair outside of our marriage and ask me to accept it and then continue as we were before. It is inconceivable to me that you can tell me you love me and we will always be together and then ask for permission to commit adultery. Billy, don't you dare say that I don't love you. And it isn't cheating if you approve, and it is only sex and only one time. Quit being so damn dramatic and immature. Molly, you want to hear about drama and being immature. I'm looking at the woman I loved as if she has been possessed by someone or something that I don't know. I'm looking at her trying to convince me that she loves me and that I should accept her having sex with another man for a weekend and just go back to being the same couple and partners we were before. But I know that will never happen. We will never be like we were before. How the hell would you feel, Molly, if I went out and got laid by someone else and told you it was just sex? That isn't fair, and you know it, Billy. You've had dozens of women and all kinds of sexual experiences in your past, and I didn't get to have any of that. And to answer, if you went out and had sex with someone, then I would kick you out and I wouldn't know if I could forgive you. And why should that be so different for me? Why shouldn't I kick you out, and why do you think I can forgive you? Molly got teary-eyed and said, Billy, I couldn't live without you. I love you and always want to be with you. Bullshit, Molly, or you wouldn't be proposing this. By the way, have you agreed to this already? Did you talk to your lover today and assure him that you would be screwing him before he knew it? God damn you, Billy, why do you have to twist this? He isn't my lover. At most, he will be a one-and-done sex experience. And yes, I did talk to him, and this Saturday he is picking me up in the morning, and I'll be back Sunday evening. And on Monday, I will rock your world and be the sexiest, best loving wife you could possibly hope for. You already were that, but you won't be that ever again if you go through with this. Molly gasped at that and recoiled back to the kitchen and sat in a chair. She looked at Billy with a pleading in her voice and eyes. Billy, please know that I love you so much. Please don't let this hurt our marriage, our partnership. You are my husband now and always. My lover, my best friend, the one I want to father our children. You are my everything. God, Molly, you are just not at all on the same planet I am. If all that were true, you would never consider what you were telling me you were going to do Saturday. This conversation is getting us nowhere. I'm telling you, if you go through with this weird Dawn, I'll be back on Friday night. Let's spend the night together, making love and enjoying each other while we can. Billy, don't walk out on me again. We need to get through this, please. Friday night, Molly, I'll bring dinner around 7 p.m. What time is Andrew picking you up Saturday morning? I'll tell him at 11 a.m., but you don't have to leave. I would like you to meet him. Jesus, Molly, meet him. If I see him, I will literally kick the living shit out of him. Why would I possibly want to meet the a-hole that is trying to destroy our marriage? Think hard about this before we meet on Friday. Billy, no, wait. Please don't leave like this. Tell me you're okay, that this isn't going to hurt us. Molly, I will never be okay with you having sex with anyone other than your husband. If you want to have sex with anyone else, get a divorce and screw every man on the planet. Hell, screw the Martians. I would not stop you, and your so-called little request today has already hurt us more than you seem to comprehend. I'll make this one promise to you. If you cancel this cheating affair and tell him you don't want to see him now or ever again, and if you promise to go to counseling with me to work on our relationship, then maybe we will be okay. If not, then I know we're finished. Tell me your answer Friday night and think hard about what you are doing to us. Billy, you a hole. Don't give me ultimatums and don't walk out on me. Please, we will be all right, even better after this. Yeah, right? Pigs are flying. Jesus, you are unbelievable, I said with my words dripping with sarcasm. I turned and walked out the door and turned off the voice recorder. I headed back to the Hilton and booked a room for Wednesday and Thursday night. I then called my boss and told him I had a family emergency and needed to take the rest of the week off, which he agreed to, but only reluctantly when I wouldn't tell him the nature of my emergency. Molly slumped over and put her head on the table after Billy left. How could he be so damn stubborn about this? She was sure he would never leave her, but had she and him already done severe damage to the relationship? And if that was the case, would going ahead with this make it any worse? She was committed to the idea of being with Andrew. She had a longing and lust for a sexual tryst with him that was so obsessive she couldn't seem to let it go. She decided that she would compromise with Billy and tell him she was going ahead with the weekend, but that she would gladly attend and participate in marriage counseling with anyone he chose after that. She dragged herself up to bed and lay in the bed with her thoughts racing. Billy was her world, and this was what she was doing to him. The pain, the anger, it was as hard on her now as it was on him. Did she really need this? But she felt trapped. She had already decided she did need this, and she had already committed. She was convinced that Billy's arguments were unreasonable. He had had dozens of women and could look back on all of those times when he was feeling restless or bored in the marriage, but she had never had that. This was just sex, just one time and just for her. He needed to get over himself and get over this. On Thursday, after Molly left for work, I came back to the house and started moving all of the things I wanted, but that Molly wouldn't notice missing into my RV. I also made a trip to the thrift store with all of the clothes that I never wore and wouldn't need. I brought all of the tools, sports equipment, and recreational items that I just didn't have room for over to my best friend Tom's house. I also gave him a couple of the pen and ink drawings that my uncle had done and that I knew Tom would appreciate. We then sat down for a beer and I told him what was up and what my options were. Tom looked at me with an incredulous expression and said, "Billy, you've got to be shitting me. No way would Molly do that to you. I've never seen a woman so in love with a man as Molly is with you. Are you sure this is what you want to do? Maybe she has a concussion or something is wrong with her. Shit, I'm not sure of anything. I don't know what is up, what is down, what is right, what is wrong. My whole world has been blown up in the course of 1 week, and it's as if Molly is another person. I just don't get it. But I know that the love I have for her is already under attack and gets weaker with every pitiful excuse she makes for why this would be so good for our marriage. She has gone crazy. Can't you forgive and forget? Get some counseling and get over it." Hell no. I've told her we can do that if she doesn't go screw the guy. But if she does, I don't see any way back from that. I've tried talking her out of it. Now I'm going to see if I can give her so many orgasms and such great sex Friday night that she will listen to reason. It's really my last chance at this. Good luck, man. Let me know if I can do anything to help. I mean, not with the orgasms, but anything to ease your pain and help you out. I hate to see you guys hurting like this. You were my role model that made it seem like a strong and healthy marriage is possible. Well, I guess both our bubbles have popped because I could never see this coming in 100 years. I'm doing everything I can not to beat the living shit out of the guy. Well, Billy, if nothing else and worse comes to worse, let me know and I will definitely help you out with that payback. Okay, I'll think about it. Well, take care, bud. By the way, I'm getting a new phone and number and I'll text it to you so we can keep in touch. Later, brother. Keep calm and hang in there. I then drove to the Verizon store, got a new phone and number, and changed our current plan to Molly's name only. Finally, I went back home, took the RV for a maiden test run, and was pleased with the results. I finished up the cabinetry, went and got new license tags and insurance, and was ready to go. I went into our home computer, cleared out all of my personal emails, documents, and basically rid the office of any of my past life. I composed an email to all of our family, friends, relatives, and co-workers to explain Molly's actions and my response. Basically, if I couldn't talk her out of this, I would explain to them that she decided to have an affair. She could use the lame excuse that it was only sex outside of our marriage. Had asked me to approve, and although I had begged her not to and told her it would end the marriage, she went ahead anyway. I prayed to God I would never have to send this, but if worse came to worse, I wanted to make sure people understood what had really happened. I also attached the voice recording from the other evening. On Friday, I went ahead with a discussion with a divorce lawyer and was told generally that with their incomes being comparable and with no kids, it would basically be a 50-50 split of all assets. The only thing that was a bit uncertain is if she would get half of my 401k plan, which I had contributed heavily to and had over $200,000 in tax-deferred accounts. She was on a defined pension plan, so it was hard to predict how that would play into the divorce. I decided that I had worked my bum off for that money, and instead of losing 50% of it to a cheating wife, I would take the $40 tax hit and pull the money out before any divorce happened. This would wait until the weekend was over, as I still hoped I might persuade Molly to wake up and stop this nightmare. I had done what I could, and as Friday approached, I felt our future, our marriage, and my love for her were all in the hands of Molly, and I could only pray she would make the right choice. I bought some shrimp, swordfish, and a Caesar salad on the way to the house and started up the grill. I put a couple of bottles of white wine and ice and mixed up a batch of gin and tonics and waited for Molly to get home from work. She was excited to come in and see me in the kitchen preparing our meal. "Thank God you came home, Billy. I missed you so much, and I hate it when you aren't home with me. You have to promise me to quit doing that. You love me. I love you. We need to be together." With that, she approached him and was a bit surprised and very happy when he took her into his arms and gave her a long and tender French kiss. "Molly, why don't you go up, catch a shower, and put on something sexy?" Here, bring a G and T up with you to start the celebration, and as soon as you come back down, I'll get the food on the grill and we'll enjoy a nice dinner. Maybe it will be the last dinner, but tonight is a celebration of what our marriage has been. Billy, quit talking like that. You upset me when you question our marriage. I am starting to get annoyed. I have told you over and over that I love only you, will always love only you, and that this isn't something about you. It's strictly something about me that I need to get out of my system. Molly, we've been over and over this. Please let's rest that conversation for now. Drink your G and T shower, and we can eat and get on to the enjoyable part of our evening. Okay, mister, but I expect you to stick around tonight and not leave me in a state of anger and not leave me worrying if you're okay or not. I'll be back wearing something that shows you how much I appreciate you and want you forever. With that, Molly went upstairs and hopped in the shower. When she came back down and I turned to greet her, I couldn't help but let out a gasp. Or was it a moan? Molly wore a French-made outfit with a little white cap and tight white blouse low cut enough to show most of her assets and show her midriff. She had on black thigh-high silk nylons, a short skirt that stopped well before the top of her nylons, and 4-inch screw-me heels. My God, Molly, you are incredibly sexy and you look absolutely stunning. Well, I want you to see just a peek of what our next several weeks will be. Because I bought a variety of outfits that you are going to enjoy just as much as this one. Now, let's get that food on the grill. I am hungry, but I really want to finish and get dessert. And she gave him a wink. We rushed through dinner, finishing off the G&Ts and drinking 3/4 of the first bottle of wine when I just couldn't wait any longer. I lifted her into my arms, carried her upstairs, and laid her on the bed. She quickly reached for my belt and zipper, but I stopped her. Tonight is for you, Molly. I am going to worship your body and make our lovemaking tonight so memorable that you will understand how good we are together and why we should only belong to each other. We do belong only to each other, honey, and that will never change. Please just make love to me tonight and let's get beyond the stress of the last few days and cement our love for each other. We made love that night. Once she was done, she gasped at how totally satisfied and spent she was and drifted off to sleep. When Molly woke up, it was 8:30 a.m., and she knew it was time to get up and start getting ready. Andrew would pick her up at 11 o'clock. She had a mixture of guilt, anxiety, and lust when she thought about this. After last night's lovemaking, she wondered for a minute what the hell she was doing. How could anything be better than that? But her stubborn mind felt she was committed to this, and she had to follow through. I was already up, and she could hear me in the kitchen, and she could smell bacon, eggs, and coffee. She put on her robe and came down to the kitchen to see me. Billy, last night was incredible, and that is what I see in our future. I love you so much, and thank you for last night. I didn't respond but finished up on the eggs and asked Molly if she wanted anything. I better not eat now, Billy, but thanks. I need to get ready, and Andrew and I are going out for brunch at 11 o'clock, so I'm going to save my appetite for that. I need to run to the bathroom and shower and get ready. Please stay here so we can hug and kiss goodbye for the weekend. Molly, I would not beg you anymore. I would just ask you this for the last time. Are you sure that you want to go ahead and have sex with a man who is not your husband? Billy, stop. This is just one and done sex. It changes nothing about my love for you and your love for me. I just looked at her in pain and sorrow and shook my head, saying I won't leave until I tell you goodbye. Molly flinched at his pain and at the way he said that. It seemed more like a parting and ending, and she shuddered at the thought. Billy, I love you, and this is going to be okay. You'll see, this just needs to get out of my system. Never forget that you and I will be together forever, and we will be better and stronger in the future. Yeah, right, Molly. I am so incredibly sad that you can even believe that. She flushed at my comment, and tears started to come to her eyes as she turned and ran to the bathroom. How could he keep being so dramatic and not just get past this? Let her have this one-time fling, and then they could move on with their lives, and she would spend her life dedicated to making up to him for this gift he was allowing her to have. My God, she thought, this has changed Billy, and I'm going to have to really work to take his pain away. I know he'll come around. He loves me so much and has always given me what I want and need, and this will be no different. She showered and applied her makeup, taking care to wear a sexy, but not over-the-top dress, thigh-high stockings, and heels. When she came down with her weekend bag, it was already 10:30 and her time was short. When I looked at her dress to meet another man, it was as if she had plunged a knife into my heart. Billy, you're okay, right? You know how much I love you, don't you? And you love me, don't you? Didn't last night show you how we can get past this and how great our life will continue to be? Molly, I wanted last night to be very special for both of us. It was a celebration of the marriage we had, and I wanted our last time together to be a memory that we could both carry for the rest of our lives. Billy, gotta admit, don't say our last night together. That is cruel, and you are trying to make me feel guilty for one meaningless weekend of sex that I need to get out of my system. Of course we will be together, and we will be better than ever. She moved to kiss and hug me, but I turned away and held her back. I looked into her eyes and said, Molly, our night is over. You chose a weekend of meaningless sex over your husband. These kisses don't matter anymore. Billy just stopped it. It's not like that. This is one and done. Damn it, and I deserve this. You have history with dozens of women that you can fantasize about, and I have nothing. I have this strong physical need to have sex with this man and get this out of my system. It isn't love. It says nothing about our relationship or how much I love you. Yes, Molly, this is one and done. Before Molly could respond, they could hear a car pull into the driveway and honk. Billy, you need to quit all of this drama. Damn it. I'm going to be back to you on Sunday night, and you will still be my only love and my life partner. The horn honked again, and Molly said, should I let Andrew in and introduce him to you so that you realize he is just a kid who I am physically attracted to and not a threat to the love I have for you? I looked at her with pain and anger, took a deep breath, and with the most calm voice said, don't even think of letting him in here, or I'll break his nose, his jaw, and crush his balls, rip his penis, and I will make sure that I shove it down his throat. And I would enjoy every second of him screaming in pain. Molly shrunk back in shock. She had never seen me approach anger like this that would allow me to lose control and be violent. Please, Billy, please let this go. Let me have this. One and done, and I'll be back home to love you forever. She picked up her bag and walked to the door and turned to give me a smile, but the pain and sorrow on my face gave her a major jolt of fear for what I might do to myself and guilt for the pain she was causing me. But she blew me a kiss, smiled, and said, Billy, Sunday night and beyond, I will be the best wife and partner you could possibly hope for. I love you. Goodbye, Molly. I waved my hand. She stood there for a second. She thought something for a second, and with that she walked out the door. I sat in a kitchen chair and cried. I felt I had done what I could to stop this marriage-ending sexual affair, but Molly seemed to be in a separate reality of her own, rationalizing that this would be good for us and something that she had to have for herself. After 30 minutes of crying myself out, I got up and started to move everything on my list of belongings that I wanted to the RV. I started in the bedroom and noticed that Molly had left her wedding rings in the bowl on top of her dresser. I put them in my pocket as my sorrow began to turn to anger and started to grow. 2 hours later, I had taken all of the things that were important to me. The paintings, sketches, and sculptures my uncle had bequeathed to me were carefully wrapped, boxed, and put under the RV's queen-size bed. All the clothes I was going to bring didn't fit, so I did another quick sort and threw the rejects in the garbage can in the garage. I walked around the house with my anger and pain seething. I saw our wedding album with 40 pictures from our wedding 5 years earlier. Looking at the album used to give me joy and a sense of calm and peace, but now it only intensified my pain and made me angrier. I ran to the garage, grabbed a box cutter from my leftover tools, and ran back into the house. On every page of photos, I cut a deep X through the plastic and the picture. On several of them, I took out the triangle portion of the photo that held our faces and threw them into the fireplace. I went over to the desk and wrote my final letter to Molly, with tears streaming down my face and landing on the letter. I finished, put the letter and the check from Molly from her half of the joint savings and checking accounts into an envelope and wrote her name on the outside. I set the photo album and the letter on the kitchen table and took off my wedding ring and set it on top of the letter. Finally, I set up the email I had composed to all of our friends, relatives, and contacts with a scheduled mailing date of Monday 9 a.m. I would be long gone by then. I turned and walked out the door, got into my RV, and drove away from my old life. It was now mid-Saturday afternoon, and Molly and Andrew had enjoyed brunch together and were checked into the hotel that Andrew had booked for Saturday and Sunday night, hoping he could convince her to stay over both nights. But at least avoiding a Sunday and checkout time, they slowly undressed and laid in bed and kissed her a few times, and then tried to go straight to sex. She told him, "Relax, Andrew, take your time." We have all day today and tomorrow to enjoy this. How about you go down on me and get me warmed up? Molly, I don't do that and find it kind of disgusting. Here, let me get you warmed up. With that, he jammed his fingers into her for a few minutes, and although it wasn't what she considered that pleasant and certainly not sexy, he quickly got to work in a missionary position. He grunted through about 2 minutes of fast strokes and yelled out, "I'm going to climax. Do with me, Molly." With that, he was done. He rolled off and laid back on the bed. Molly laid there in disbelief. She wasn't even close to a climax, and for that matter was barely aroused. Andrew jumped up and ran to the bathroom, saying he needed to clean himself up and would bring her a washcloth. She just turned away from the bathroom and wondered what the hell she was doing and what had she done to cause this kind of pain to Billy for something that was truly turning out to be more meaningless than even she thought it would be. Andrew came back out, and being young, he was ready to go again. They had sex 3 times that afternoon, and although she finally had a climax, the third time it was actually her own effort. They got up, got dressed, and went out to dinner. Dinner was awkward with small talk and no real connection either physically or mentally between them. The magic she thought she felt before was gone. They did some dancing after dinner, but it was like dancing with her brother or uncle. The physical attraction she had convinced herself was so strong had disappeared. Although Andrew wanted to go back to the room quickly, she kept ordering drinks and putting him off until both of them were very drunk and even had trouble negotiating their way back to the room. When they got there, she just quickly stripped off her clothes, collapsed onto the bed, turned away from Andrew, and went to sleep. In the morning, she woke up with a hangover and could feel Andrew snoring in bed beside her. She decided that the damage of the weekend was already done, so she should give it one good try again to see if she could have any memorable sex with the young man. She tried to give Billy a morning BJ. She was bound and determined to try and get him turned on enough to do something exciting to her in bed. Andrew woke up, was enjoying, and without warning finished in her mouth. She gagged a bit and spit out some of it. She moved up to him and said, "How did you like that, baby?" She moved in to kiss him, and he said, "Oh, gross. I'm not kissing that mouth. Can you please go clean up, brush, and then come back to bed?" She grabbed her phone in disgust, went into the bathroom, and locked the door. She got in the shower, washed herself as if trying to wash off the plague, dried off, and sat down on the toilet. She grabbed her phone and saw that Billy had not responded to her texts. She tried calling him, and it immediately rolled to voicemail. She sent him another text saying, "Billy, I love you. Are you okay? Please tell me you're okay and we can get past this. This has turned into a meaningless and miserable mistake, and I know I want only you forever. I'll be home as soon as I can, looking to hug you and tell you how much I love you. Please let me know you are okay." She talked Andrew into going down for breakfast, and then as they were finishing up, she said, "Andrew, this was a mistake for me. I only love my husband, and this weekend with you has shown me that no one can compare with him in my eyes. I'm going to go up to the room, pack my bag, and leave now. I'll get a cab. I don't want to see you again for lunch, happy hour, or dinner, and would appreciate it if we could avoid each other at work. I'm sorry, but this was just a major mistake." "Well, screw you, witch. You're the one who wanted this so badly and talked me into it. Go ahead and run back to your husband and try and forget how great the sex with me was. There are plenty of women better looking than you that would love to get a crack at me. Andrew, you are just a boy and you don't have a clue how to please a woman. Come out of your delusion." With that, she walked up to the room, packed her things, and left. Molly grabbed a cab and got home around 3 p.m. on Sunday. The first thing she noticed was the big RV that had taken half of her driveway up was gone. Wow, I guess Billy actually got that thing finished, and he must have decided to go for a test drive or an overnight trip. I wish I could have been here for that maiden voyage, and I'm bummed out and surprised he didn't wait for me. As she entered the house, she sensed rather than saw that something was different. The first physical change she noticed was that the oil painting of the waves crashing onto Moonlight Bay and Encinitas that Billy's uncle had painted was no longer hanging above the fireplace. She looked around and saw that many of his other drawings and paintings were gone, as were the sculptures of the bison his uncle had sculpted that sat on the mantel. "Oh no, Billy, what have you done? I'm home," she screamed into the house, even knowing that no one was there to hear it. She pulled out her phone and saw that Billy still had not yet responded to any of her texts. She called his phone, and when the Verizon voice immediately responded, "This cell phone number is no longer in service," she let out a scream and sunk to the floor. "Oh God, no, what have I done? Oh, Billy, how could you do this? How could you leave me like this?" She got up, trying to slow the stream of tears and gasps coming out of her body, and moved as quickly as she could to the kitchen. She fell to her knees again as she saw Billy's wedding ring sitting on top of a letter to her that laid on top of their wedding album. She sank into a chair and picked up and stared at the ring, unable to believe what was happening and what this all meant. She ripped open the letter and started to wail as she tried to read it through. "Molly, as you can guess, this is my final goodbye to you. Perhaps I am a coward, but I couldn't trust myself to face you after you walked away from me and our marriage. I found your wedding rings in the bowl on your dresser and knew it was a perfect symbol for how you left our marriage behind. You left knowing that if you wore the rings, you would have to admit you were cheating and it would ruin your idea of a free pass for the weekend. I think you believed without a doubt that you could screw somebody else and come back to me and have our marriage be the same as it always was. I honestly don't know what you were thinking and how you could possibly think it was going to be okay to break our wedding vows, to humiliate and disrespect me in our marriage, and to think it was just a meaningless, harmless little weekend sex session that shouldn't at all affect how I feel for you. But the reality is it meant everything. It showed me that your love for me, if indeed you really did love me, was nowhere close to my love for you. It was nowhere close to what I deserved and what I was naive enough to think I had. You hurt me more than anyone has ever hurt me. You took my love for you, pulled it out of my chest, and stomped on it. You cheated on me the first time you started flirting with your lover at lunch and happy hour. You sealed that cheating when you started kissing him at happy hours and dinners and thinking that was okay. Then you gave my love the death blow when you thought that I would be okay with you having a sexual affair. How could you possibly believe that you deserved it and that if I loved you, I would give you this? I don't know how your mind got to that warped idea, and I did everything I could to pull you back from the cliff, but you ignored me. I told you our love, our marriage, our friendship could never be the same, but you called me immature and overly dramatic. I told you that if you stopped this weekend fling right now before it happened, we could get counseling and work on saving our marriage, but you blew me off. I told you that our last night of incredible lovemaking was the last time we would ever be together if you went through with your weekend affair, but you chose to ignore me and assumed I would fall into line and be there for you no matter what. I really don't understand how you could ever think I would be okay with this. It's like you really didn't know me at all. And evidently, I didn't know you because I trusted you and would have never thought you could destroy me as you now have. I could have physically stopped you, I guess. But I knew if I did that you would grow to resent me and we would have a slow decaying death of the marriage. I knew you were kidding yourself thinking this was one and done. You opened Pandora's box. If the sex was bad, how long would it be until you found another sexual attraction that you just had to get out of your system? If the sex was good, how long would it be after fantasying over it before you had to have it again? You likely wouldn't have even told me about the next times you cheated after seeing what we are going through now. But I had no doubt that the next times would come and your cheating would continue. I guess we will never know. I could never be in a relationship without trust. And now my trust in you has been completely broken. I couldn't love you again wondering if you were thinking about me or fantasying about some other lover when we made love. As soon as you walked out the door, you took all of the love, respect, trust, and friendship you claimed to have for me and washed it down the drain. I could never forgive you for that, trust you again, and even be friends with you. I have to cut you out of my life just like you cut my love out of my chest. A couple of practical things to tell you. I have split up all of our assets and paid the mortgage for the next 2 months. Your 50% of our joint accounts is the check I enclosed in this envelope. I have canceled our Verizon joint account as of Monday. You will have to get your own. I have canceled our insurance and our joint credit cards. You will have to get your own. I have taken my name off the mortgage and written a quick claim deed to you, putting the house in your name. You can do what you want with it, sell it or live there. It doesn't matter to me as it is not my home anymore and I'll never be back. I sold my car and as you can see, I have left in the RV. Sometime down the road, I will pawn your wedding rings for gas money, and at least they will have served some purpose. I should tell you about a couple things that I did in my anger and pain to spite you and your destruction of my love. As you can see, I took a box cutter to the wedding album, and you'll see some pieces of the photos sitting in the fireplace. Go ahead and burn them. It's as fitting of a cremation of our marriage as any. I also have penned an email to all our friends, relatives, co-workers, and contacts telling them about your decision to go outside of our marriage and cheat on me, and my decision that I can't tolerate that, and I am leaving you. You have a day or two to get your story together on how you want to spin it, but just maybe you can start your new life by taking responsibility for what you have done. The good news for you is you now have my permission to go ahead and screw whoever you want to. Have all the sexual experiences or affairs you want. It would be nice if you didn't pick married men because you've already screwed up enough lives, but go ahead and try and find whatever it was you were looking for that caused you to throw us away like yesterday's newspaper. You can divorce me, sell the house, move, do whatever you want to do. I don't care, and I will leave that all up to you. Should I be lucky enough to find a woman that actually does love me the way I deserve, then perhaps I'll worry about a divorce. I have quit my job, cashed out my 401k, and the only plan I have right now is to never see you again and to take a left out of the driveway when I leave. Other than that, I guess I'll forge out a new life and hope to leave your memory in the rearview mirror. Goodbye, Billy. Molly had to read through the letter several times to really believe this was happening. She could see Billy's tear stains on the sheets as he wrote it. She got up, saw the damage to the wedding album, and could barely make it to the sink before she threw up and nearly blacked out. My God, what have I done? How could I have been so self-centered and stupid? How could I destroy the only man I'll ever really love? I had it all and gave it up for the worst, most pathetic sex, and in a hole that only wanted to get in my pants and didn't know what to do when he did. Molly crawled to the couch in the living room, got on it, and curled up into the fetal position and cried herself out before falling asleep. She couldn't believe that she had been so stubborn and so fixated on her lust to try a new sex partner that she hadn't heard or believed all of the warnings and ultimatums that Billy had given her. She had destroyed her life in the matter of a few weeks, and she now knew she would pay the price of her betrayal for the rest of her life. Billy ended up driving to the banks of the Mississippi and decided to follow it from Minneapolis-St. Paul down to New Orleans. When he got there, he would decide to take a left or a right. The long driving hours were wrought with thoughts of Molly and whether he was doing the right thing, but he decided that he wouldn't make any decisions about that for weeks to come. At this point, he couldn't even see being friends, much less marriage partners, but if his anger left him, and if he got to the point where it was more important to him to be with her than without her, he would maybe open up a communication dialogue with her. But he gave it less than a 25% chance of happening, and it would be a long road back. Molly had to go through the humiliation and pain of explaining her ridiculous state of mind and reasoning about having a sexual fling to her parents, relatives, and friends. She could tell that every single one of them would never understand her reasoning or take her side. She now really couldn't understand her reasoning either, much less explain it. She had to admit how horribly she convinced herself that the fling wouldn't affect them. She had to explain how she just didn't understand until now the way it would destroy her marriage and how much it had destroyed her only love. She had to take responsibility for being incredibly self-centered and stupid about how important her fidelity would be both to Billy and now to her. She could see how she had lost her family and friends' respect for her and how they started to back away in their relationships with her. Molly called Billy's best friend Tom weekly, pleading with him to give her Billy's location, his phone number, or tell her anything about him. She begged him to tell Billy she loved him, had finally understood and taken responsibility for her cheating on their marriage, and would do anything to get him to talk with her again. Tell him I love him, I miss him, I screwed up badly and really understand that, and I'll do anything to get past this if he will let me try. I'll never divorce him and tell him I am committed to our marriage vows and will not date or have any male relationships while we are still married. She waited every week hoping for a call or response, but it never came. She quit going out with anyone, led a lonely and solitary life at work and at home, and prayed that something would eventually bring Billy back to her, and she would be waiting for him, faithful to their marriage. About a month after Molly's affair, Andrew's doorbell rang, and when he answered the door, there was a man in a ski mask with a police baton that quickly beat him twice in the head and neck until he collapsed, and then when he was down, kicked him several times in his crotch. As Andrew laid there in pain, the attacker told him that he should learn to never mess with married women and then turned and walked away. As time moved on, both Molly and Billy would think about what happened, and both of them could never really answer the question of how could she think this was going to be okay. 3 years later, Molly was still waiting for Billy, but he never came back. A fine morning, Molly was about to leave for work, and a man came and asked her name. Once Molly confirmed her name, and he handed her an envelope, "You have been served." Molly did not cry, did not react, and just stood there. She let out a small smile and said, "All the best, Billy. I hope you have a wonderful life."